We all want these big, amazing results in our lives. But what if the secret to getting there isn't some massive, heroic action? What if it's actually something tiny? Well, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he figured this out, not from studying books, but from a moment of pure crisis, a moment that almost ended his life.
Imagine this. Someone asks you a super simple question. What year is it? And you have no idea. For a young James Clear, lying in a nurse's office after a horrible accident, that was his reality. His answer? 1998. The thing is, it was 2002. He was off by 4 years.
And the questions kept coming, each one digging a deeper hole. Who is the president? He said, Bill Clinton. Nope. The correct answer was George W. Bush. His brain was swelling so fast his entire world was just falling apart. But the worst question, the most terrifying one, was still on its way.
10 seconds. I mean, just think about that. An entire, silent 10 seconds to remember the name of his own mother. That was it. That was the terrifying moment right before his body just gave up, before he blacked out completely.
And that's the last thing he remembered. This was the moment a baseball bat in a total freak accident didn't just shatter his face, it completely shattered his future as a top athlete. He was airlifted to a hospital, his life just hanging by a thread.
So how do you even begin to rebuild a life from scratch? Well, this horrible, life-changing injury, believe it or not, it became the very foundation for a whole new way of thinking about self-improvement. His long journey back from that moment, that's where our story really begins.
And the path back was, it was just brutal. They had to put him in a medically induced coma. When he finally woke up, he lost his sense of smell. And get this, a simple thing like blowing his nose would cause his eyeball to literally bulge out of its socket. The final humiliation, getting cut from the baseball team he lived for. This was his rock bottom. But this was the turning point. Humbled, totally defeated, he just gave up on those huge, ambitious goals. Instead, his focus shifted to the only thing he felt he could control. These tiny, almost invisible habits. Things like just going to bed on time, keeping his room tidy. These small acts were the first little steps he took to get some sense of control back in his life.
And what started out as just a personal survival tactic, well, it unlocked this incredibly powerful idea that applies to everyone. See, this isn't just an inspiring story, it's practically a mathematical guarantee. It's the idea that tiny 1% improvements, when you stack them up day after day, lead to these massive, almost unbelievable results over time. Now, Clear's personal strategy of stacking these small wins actually has a really famous counterpart in the world of pro sports. For almost 100 years, the British cycling team was, frankly, a joke. Then they brought in a new philosophy, the aggregation of marginal gains. Basically, hunting for 1% improvements absolutely everywhere.
And when I say they got obsessed with the details, I mean obsessed. They looked at everything, the pillows the riders slept on, the exact type of massage gels they used. They even hired a surgeon just to teach the team the perfect way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. The result of all these little tweaks? Total and complete dominance in their sport.
Okay, so if these tiny steps are the secret, what actually makes us do them? We're always told it's all about finding more motivation, right? But Clear argues that's basically a myth. And there's a fascinating study on exercise that totally proves this point.
So in this amazing study, researchers tried to get people to exercise more. The first group was just the control. The second group got this big, rah-rah motivational speech. You know what? Their results were pretty much the same as the control group. But the third group, they were just asked to write down a specific plan, when and where they would exercise, and their follow-through rate was a staggering 91%. The takeaway couldn't be clearer. Having a simple plan is more than twice as effective as just feeling motivated.
But look, even a plan isn't the whole story. This next part is probably the deepest, most important idea in Atomic Habits. It's that real, lasting change isn't about what you do, it's about who you believe you are. The real work always starts with your identity.
Think about this for a second. It's a subtle shift, but it's so powerful. The goal isn't just to write a book, it's to become a writer. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. You see, the focus moves away from the one-time outcome and onto the identity itself.
This changes the way you see everything. Every single time you go for a run, you're not just exercising. You're casting a vote for your identity as a runner. Every page you write is another vote for a writer. Your habits literally become the evidence that proves to yourself who you are.
But here's the catch. Your old identity can fight back, hard. You know those stories we tell ourselves? Oh, I'm not a morning person. I'm just bad with names. When we repeat these for years, they become these deep grooves in our brain. Trying to build a new habit, like waking up early, is always going to be an uphill battle if you deep down believe, I'm not a morning person.
So, if we're focused on our identity and we have a specific plan, how do we make it all easier? Clear has this great mantra. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And one of the most powerful systems you have is your physical environment.
Here are 2 super simple rules you can use right away. First, one space, one use. Don't try to work from the same couch where you binge watch shows. Give every habit its own home. Second, prime your environment. Want to hit the gym in the morning? Lay your clothes out the night before. You want to make the very next action incredibly obvious and easy to start. But what I love is that this works in reverse too. It's not just about making good habits easy. We can also design our environment to make our bad habits harder. And there's this fantastic story from history that shows just how powerful this can be. So, the famous novelist Victor Hugo, he had to write The Hunchback of Notre Dame on a crazy tight deadline, and he was a massive procrastinator. So what did he do? He had his assistant take all of his clothes and lock them away, leaving him with nothing but this giant shawl. With no way to go outside without looking completely ridiculous, he was basically forced to stay inside and write. He added friction to his bad habit. So how does all this stuff, the 1% gains, the identity, designing your environment, how does it all fit together? Well, it all comes down to a handful of small, what we can call decisive moments that really shape your day. When you think about it, the difference between a really productive day and a lazy day usually isn't some huge event. It's those tiny choices: ordering takeout versus cooking a healthy meal, scrolling on your phone versus picking up a book. Every one of those small choices is like a fork in the road. It might not feel like a big deal in the moment, but over a day, a week, a year, a lifetime, those tiny little deviations start to compound, and they end up leading you to wildly different destinations.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. Forget about the massive, overwhelming goals for just a second. What is the one tiny 1% better choice you can make right now, today? What is the single vote you can cast for the person you really want to become?